Welcome to episode 15 of Pause for Peace. My name is Jule and I pastor Hillwood, Presbyterian church that gathers on the west side of Nashville, Tennessee. We come together so that we will be sent out into the world to live the way of love. Glad to have you here today for this episode. It is time, it's episode 15, it is time to focus upon dreams. You have heard me say, if you have been following this podcast all along, that I am trained in a Jungian way, the kind of method of Carl Jung in working with dreams and helping people to come to wisdom and awareness from the gifts, the gems that are given to us each night, every time we dream. So as somebody trained in Jungian dream work, certified with the Hayden Institute, a shout out to the Hayden Institute, love the Hayden Institute, I want to be able to share this way of taking what some of us believe are really gifts from God that we can then begin to unwrap each day. It is a way that we can know a little bit more about what's coming in our day, what might be driving the energies that might be driving the way that we interact in the world, the place we might be on in our process of transformation. Dreams may even be a bit of a way to just work out the energies of the day, the things we've been struggling with. And there's great history of dreams in the Western world that show us that there have been incredible inventions that have come because people have been given information and wisdom in their dreams and then taken it into the waking world. Something like the sewing machine comes from a dream. Somebody as esteemed as the United States President Abraham Lincoln was known to be somebody that recorded his dreams, that paid attention to what was coming to him every time he lay his head down on his pillow. Each time we do so, we have an opportunity to enter into a world that is so close to waking world, but is also a place that is so different. I heard a dreamer say just this week, I had this dream and it was just sort of a regular old dream. It wasn't like somebody suddenly being in a flying car or anything totally extraordinary, but dreams typically are totally extraordinary. Dreams typically show us vivid colors and just very bizarre things. Some of us even look at the book of Revelation, that is the last book of the Christian Testament. And if you read it, it's actually this incredible, fanciful dream world that is coming to life in written word. It's so full of symbol, such deep meaning, and symbol even being used. If it wasn't a dream that was being recorded, it's symbols being used to tell truth that would have been a little bit too threatening if anybody in a place of power got their hands upon it. But anybody who was struggling in the faith could read and know these symbols because they were rich. These were symbols that were just replete from their history and told a story of the way that God had been with their people all along. So I approach dreams because I'm trained in that Jungian world. I approach dreams as showing us something from our waking world, a symbol, an archetype. I'm going to unpack some of these words in just a moment. From our waking world that our unconscious is using to bring us to greater awareness, to bring us to greater consciousness. You might even think about the iceberg. We can only see a tip of an iceberg when we're in the ocean and when we're in the lake. We can only see the tip of the iceberg, this frozen water. But deep down underneath the surface of the water is this humongous barrier of ice. And we can think about our own awareness in the same way. There are so many parts of our psyche, of our spirit, that we just don't see, and yet those things drive us. They have us reacting in certain ways to other people. They have us just following a particular path because we only are aware of just this little bit of ourself. So dreams give us a chance to dive down deep into the unconscious, Carl Jung would say. So just a word about the difference between symbols and signs. My understanding is that a Freudian way of looking, Sigmund Freud would look at dreams. He would say that there were signs that came forth, and there were some typical signs that would come forth in dreams. And then an expert could kind of say, this sign means this, X equals Y, or X equals 4, or whatever it might be. So a purse equals your identity. That's what a Freudian way of interpreting dreams would be. In the Jungian world, Carl Jung kind of took it a step further from Sigmund Freud's work. And he said he really believed that these were symbols coming from the unconscious of the dreamer. And while there might be some kind of collective meaning around certain symbols, we all might see a body of water and think about, especially if it's a river, we might see a river and of water and we might think of flow. That many people might think of just floating down the river of life when they see that symbol. But at the end of the day, it's a symbol that has so many different meanings. And it is the dreamer that is able to say, this is what this means for me, at least in this moment of my life. This is what this symbol of the floating down the river means for me. So I always encourage dreamers to approach their dreams, the symbols that come to them in their nighttime dreams, and also the symbols, synchronicities that come throughout the day, those times where we have that sense of wait, have I been here before? Or wait, this is matching with something else, or I think I've already experienced this. All of those synchronicities that might come, or squirrels that might cross your path every day. And it's what is the synchronicity of the squirrel continuing to cross my path? Whatever that synchronicity might be, all of those are symbols that we can work, that we can kind of unpack. So when I work with individuals in dreams, which I do through the Circle for Healing and Wholeness, but I also work with groups in dreams, which we do through Hillwood Presbyterian Church. We have a DreamWork Circle that meets every other Tuesday night, 7 p.m. on Zoom, so anybody in the world can join us. Just go to our website, www.hillwoodpc.org, and find out about our dream group. Find a way, contact me there, and I'd love to talk to you about joining our dream group. But when I work with individuals in dreams, I will ask them particular questions about their symbols, just to get a sense of helping that dreamer unpack what that symbol might mean for them. And again, I remind people to think of the symbols from their dreams, even if we're in a group, to think of these as both and. It can mean this, and 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 it's all right. Because in this dream world, especially in this Jungian understanding of entering the dream world, it's like looking at a master piece of art. Everybody who looks at that beautiful piece of art is going to see something different. And it's when we all have our voices coming together and hearing what it might mean for each person that a dreamer might actually get some illumination on what that symbol that's just caught them from their dream world, what that symbol might be meaning for them. So just a few examples, because this is our way. I want us to pause for peace today. I'm going to encourage you to think about a dream that you have recently had. Now, people often ask me or say I don't dream. And the reality is science has shown us that anybody who is asleep, anybody who is entering REM sleep is actually dreaming. We have up to 8 dreams a night. We just may not remember them. We may not be paying attention to the wisdom that are unconscious or that God is trying to give us for our path. There might be things happening in our body that are prohibiting us to remember our dreams. And we may just like be living kind of unconscious. If we're jumping out of bed every morning and like bolting up from an alarm and then just like hitting the floor running, you're not really giving your body enough time and your mind enough time to transition from that beautiful place of dream world into the waking day. And so just slowing down that process of waking up, of allowing your muscles to even begin to move as you start your day, will help that process of what we call dream recall. Another couple of tidbits about dream recall. I encourage people who really are curious about their dreams and want to begin looking somewhere for some more wisdom on their path. If you're stuck in your life in some way, dreams is a great place to turn. Because like I said, we're all dreaming. Every night we have up to 8 dreams a night. We just don't remember them, possibly because we're not paying attention to them. So some tips that I use is, one of the things I will do is I will have kind of some things around my bed that will remind me that I'm entering into this world of the dreams when I go into my bed. I actually have some paintings that I have done, just some simple paintings. If you're watching our video cast, you can see them here, either through collage or paintings that I have done about particular dreams that remind me of the energy of that dream that was so incredibly powerful for me that I wanted to find a way to bring it into waking world. And if you are watching this podcast, you may be seeing right over my shoulder this like very weird looking piece of art that has some blue and some yellow. If you look super close, you can see brown. You can even see something that looks like a grid. It was like a very industrial like building that I was trying to capture in this dream. And then there was water in this dream, and then there was sand in this dream, and then there was like this beautiful sense of like life shooting up out of this water. And so I tried to capture that image in this painting that I keep near my bed. It's just one way to give me that prompt that like I have a gift now, that I can enter into this dream world. In fact, this image, if you're seeing it on the video cast, was actually a powerful dream about the mother energy of the universe, the mother energy of God, if you might say, just giving me this gift of like dying, falling, but then coming back to life and just coming back to a beautiful, abundant life. And so it's a great prompt for me to pay attention to my dreams. I have other little token that I once received from my dream coach in my process of being certified as a dream coach. And I keep that near my bed because it helps remind me. Some people use dream catchers over their bed from the indigenous wisdom of the native people of the Americas. Others might just keep a journal close to their bed with a pen ready to go. Serious dreamers who are really stuck on dream recall, I have heard, have a specific kind of light they can use so they won't bother their partner who might also be in their bed, and a way that they can just sort of like take down any snippets of their dream in a paper journal with a pen and a little bitty nightlight that they can use for recording their dream. I know folks who just use their device, the closest device, and they just take a note verbally in their dreams and then later on sit down to like write that all out. When we are recording our dreams, whether it is verbally or whether we are writing our dreams, the way to do that is to write it, record it, first person present tense. So it's like I am recording the dream action as if it's happening once again. I'm trying to like get down into my journal or however I'm keeping track of my dreams. Just like the story, the movie line of the dream, what I saw, what was happening to me, what I was doing. So here's an example from a dream I just had the other night. I am in a room, it's a dark room, and it's an old house that I am in, and I am standing before an antique clock and realizing that the antique clock is moving slower and slower and slower, as if time is slowing down, because I realize in the dream that I forget to wind the clock. I have not been tending the clock. So that's just a way I could just write that dream down, write that snippet of the dream down, and then bring it to a dream group, bring it to a dream coach, bring it to some individual prompts that I can kind of begin to understand, like, what message do I need to know about how I may or may not be properly keeping time? Something that is a struggle for me continuously, because there's so much to do in this beautiful ministry that I'm able to be a part with Hillwood Presbyterian Church. And there's always like more I want to do. But I also can just look at that little image and think, it's a clock that I've received from my ancestors. It's an ancestral clock, actually, that I'm standing before in this dream. And I can think about the gift of life that has been passed on to me, and how my time is not like, it's going to run out at some point in time. My time as a physical being is not going to last forever. And that might just be the reminder that I need for this week. So the dream world has just given me that great symbol to play with. I just remember it was a beautiful clock, the intricate detail of the wood of this clock, and literally standing face to face with this clock face. And I even had that sense of like, which one is for the hour? Which one is for the minute? I was a little messed up about time. This might even be a symbol that is showing me just how there are different kinds of time. There is that way that we keep measured time, keep order in this world. And then there's that place of like entering into the mystical kind of magical space where time stands still. We sometimes call that Kairos time or God's time. And so the great reminder from the dream world about that. So another way to kind of recall our dreams is to simply, this is kind of the way I do it most. When I have a dream and I wake up and I'm most disturbed by something, or like it's still so fresh, I do try to just linger a little bit between sleep world, what we might call dream world, and waking world, like getting up out of my bed. I try to just stay there a moment before I move anything in my body, before I even might open my eyes, as I'm, that liminal space. I try to kind of memorize the pictures of the dream, just like kind of memorize the order of the symbols in the dream. So I had a very long dream the other night, but the only thing I remembered was that I am registered and I am beginning a spiritual conference with a friend of mine, and we are settling into our room that we have been assigned to be in for the week as we are at this spiritual conference. And so I just memorized that part of the dream. And then the next two symbols that come, well, there's three symbols that came in that dream. The floor was slanted. It was like slanted to the left, and my bed was down there somewhere in this slanted floor. And so I'm trying to like maneuver how I can like get my bed made and be in that spot. And I had brought with me, I don't remember if it was because we weren't getting any food in the dream or if it was just like the snacks I brought with me. I had brought with me this like massive case of Diet Coke and this humongous like Halloween mini sized little Twix bars, like the Halloween bag of candy of Twix bars. And in the dream, I have an awareness that I have given up Diet Coke and caffeine for Lent, and I am not eating chocolate for Lent. And so I have this flash in the dream that sort of is like the intertwining of waking and dream world. And then in the dream, I actually kind of have this sense of, oh well, and I go ahead and open the Twix bag and I just take one mini Twix candy out and I'm about to eat it and I wake up. That was that dream. So before I got out of bed, I remember this dream from several days ago and I never wrote it down because what I did was I just memorized those symbols before I got out of bed. There's this whole science to dream recall, that the chemical kind of wash that happens in our neurotransmitters in our brain that stops our voluntary muscles from moving, our fingers, our legs, our, arms. That once we start to move, that chemical kind of leaves, and it doesn't help us any longer to recall in our brain the dream. And so that's why it's so important to capture images of the dream before we actually start moving our whole body. All right, so that's a little bit about dream recall. Now, so you actually have a dream, even if it's one little snippet. I once worked a dream with a dreamer. All we had was just like the corner edge of a picture frame and a faint drawing of a woman in pink. That's all we had. And we spent an hour and 45 minutes working that dream, the symbols of that dream, and helping the dreamer come to some awareness of what might be going on in her life because of the gift of that just little symbol that was given. So when I work with folks in dreams, I'll ask them, and this is just kind of a way to work with a dream or a symbol of yours today. So if you will just take a moment, let's just kind of get quiet and centered for just a moment. This is one of our ways to pause for peace. And whatever is the first, even just one symbol, one part of a dream, whatever's the first one that arises to you, because perhaps it had a lot of energy around it, just like bring that back into your awareness. Notice what you're seeing about it. It's helpful to think about, like, is there color there? Is there, like that setting, like I said in that dream with that clock, it was in an old house and it was dark. It was like nighttime. Just pay attention to that, whatever little snippet of dream you can. And then I want you to think, like, whatever symbol it was, if you have a sense of the setting, like where was that symbol taking place? Or was the setting itself the symbol you're focusing on, like a spirituality conference that you might be attending? Just spend some time either writing down, taking a note on a device, or just in your brain, just thinking right now, what does that symbol mean to you? What does that setting mean to you? The symbol of the setting. What takes place typically in that setting? For instance, as we think about a spirituality conference, the first kind of associations that come to me, the first thing a spirituality conference reminds me of, that setting reminds me of a place for spiritual wisdom, for garnering the gifts of spiritual wisdom from others, for a place for sharing and growing in my spiritual life. So I think about that setting, and then I think about how might that be happening or taking place in my waking world. So I might even encourage a dreamer to think about, where does that setting land in your body or in your psyche, in your spirit? What does that setting mean to you? So if I think about the setting of a spirituality conference, it's almost like, where in myself am I needing to conference in my spirit, to conference and to grow in my spirituality? Where might I be needing to kind of come at things with a beginner's mind, that I am able to get the gifts of wisdom that others might have to share, and to hear the wisdom that arises from the inner world? That world of spirituality for me is about like the interior landscape. All right, so that's a setting and how I might utilize. If your symbol that you're thinking about today is a person, all right, people are so important. And we have dreams all the time. Like I had a dream with my friend from childhood in it. It's a person I know. It's a person I'm connected with still in waking world. But I might have a dream with somebody that I don't know. There was a part of that dream in that old house with the clock where there was some kind of man in the kind of corner. It was sort of a young man in the corner. I could barely recognize that person, but I was aware that there was a young man in the corner. So what I do is I just think about, what are 3 energies or characteristics of that person? So I could just sort of name in my head for somebody I know, right, in my waking world, or write down in my notes. My friend from childhood. Okay, so what do I know about my friend from childhood? I know that she's a lot of fun. I know that she's a woman. I also know she's always been somebody that I think is like, I admire her so much. And so I just think about those energies or qualities of her. She kind of exhibits this like cool kind of quality, but she's also pretty upfront. She's pretty like aggressive in some ways. Assertive might be a better way to think about it, which I love and appreciate. So I might think about like, okay, how are those energies of that like assertiveness, that kind of upfront energy, how are those energies needed in my waking world today? Like, I've partnered with this energy. This is like my best friend from childhood, right? And so it's like, this is an energy of myself that I have long known and has been walking with me all through my life. And so where might I need to call upon those energies? Or how might those energies in myself of being upfront, of being assertive, of being that like kind of admirable qualities in myself be needed for my next phase of spiritual learning? That's the way I can work with somebody I know. If it's an energy of somebody, if it's a person I don't know, it's a person that you've chosen in your dream, a symbol that you don't know, you might just want to think about, like, write out 3 qualities, characteristics. I like to think of them like energies of their kind of personality, if you will, that they might be exhibiting in the dream. So this man in the shadows, I have a sense that he is very quiet. I have a sense that he is present. And I have a sense that he is emerging, because he's like emerging from the shadows. And so here I am in this dream with this beautiful clock. And I also have this male figure, this symbol of my own kind of inner male, if you will, inner masculine energy that may be emerging, that's kind of moving out of the shadows. So it's like a younger energy that I'm beginning to integrate with, that is quiet and really is a very receptive, careful kind of male energy, which might actually be really important for me to know about, like, how I track time, right? That energy might be needed in this day. Animals are really important to pay attention to in our dream. I often have dreams with my sweet little doggy, and I have projections on what he means and symbolizes for me, that he is this energy of loyalty. He's the energy of stubbornness as well, because he just has like that animal instinctual stubbornness. He definitely wants his autonomy. And so I can think about, like, okay, where are those instinctual animal energies? How are they serving me based on how that animal is showing up in the dream? Are they trying to like come at me and like give me their medicine, if you will? Or are they like having me chase after something I don't even need to be chasing after? Or are they like comforting me, that instinctual energy that's in myself to comfort myself when I'm in pain, for instance? So that's a way to work with like animal energies. Okay, the other thing to notice is if you have chosen a symbol, or if a symbol is showing up in your dream that is like what you might say like a tool, for instance, like a clock, right? I would ask a dreamer to think about, what is the purpose in waking world of that tool, of a clock, for instance. A lot of people will have cell phones or purses or wallets in their dream. You might think about, like, what is the purpose of that symbol, of that tool in waking world? So like, what's the purpose of a purse in waking world? For a lot of women and some men too, a purse is where we like put the things that are most important to us, right? Things like that show our identity, things that allow us to function in daily world. And so in that dream of the spirituality conference, so I think about, like, what's the purpose of the bed? There's a bed in that dream, and the purpose of the bed is for like to have a place to rest, to be in repose, to gather myself again. It was a twin bed, so I was going to be in that bed alone. What about the Diet Coke and the Twix bars, right? I think about like, what's the purpose of a big old bag of mini Twix bars? Really, it's empty calories. It's not going to be fulfilling. It is something that I'm saying like, no, I'm not going to be ingesting that in my waking world these days. And the Twix bar just has such interesting, if you know about a Twix bar, it's actually like a combined word is the name. Like it's a twin sticks is how they named that candy bar Twix, because originally there were two Twix sticks that would come in a package, and in itself a Twix bar is a coming together of some opposites, right? There's like a shortbread cookie with the gooey, so it's firm shortbread cookie with the gooey chocolate over the top, gooey caramel, I should say, over the top, and then it's even covered in chocolate. So it's like these different things that are coming together to form a Twix bar. It's just a little bitty one in my dream, and I decide to go ahead and ingest that. And it may be empty calories, but it also might be showing me how opposing energies are coming together in my day. How that firmness and that flow of the caramel, the shortbread cookie and the flow of the caramel might be like intertwined, like a Twix is intertwined, two sticks, right? How it's intertwined, and what that might be showing me about just the way I'm getting a little bit more of that in my spiritual growth. For instance, I might see that part. So think about if your symbol is a kind of tool or an object, what is the purpose of that object? All right. So let me just give you a moment of quiet here. I've said a lot about dreams. Go back to your symbol for just a moment, the symbol that you've chosen to work with today. And see if you have applied any of those questions, answered any of those questions. See if anything new has come for you. Like if there's any ahas that have come forth from the connections you've made in your waking world, the meaning that you might project onto this symbol. I'm focusing on that antique clock, standing face to face with that antique clock. And because it was in an old dark house that had some familiarity, I'm really taking comfort from that symbol today that shows me that long line of my lifeline, the time I have been given here, and what I am here to do based on my ancestral kind of lineage and the gifts they have given me for this very moment of being. And a reminder that I might need to slow down now and again and just kind of dwell a little bit more in that old house that is kind of in me, that is me. That's what I'm taking forth from these moments of working with these symbols today. I always close dream group or working with an individual and ask whatever aha has come, whatever wisdom has come. Again, there's no right or wrong in the Jungian understanding of the dream world. These symbols can mean so much. I probably have totally missed what the symbols I have mentioned, and if I've missed them and you're like, she's forgetting that it means this, or like it also might be about this, put a note in the comments. Send me a little note through our comments, and it'd be awesome to like have a conversation about that through our comments. Keep it kind, please. It can be a vulnerable thing to talk about your dream symbols, so I appreciate you being kind as we talk about our dream symbols. But I always encourage us, whatever wisdom has come that kind of is making more sense for our waking world, we find a way to concretize that we find something to bring forth from the dream, a physical representation, a picture we might create. I might actually find a picture of an ancestor and put it close to my bed to remind me of the gift of my life, or somewhere prominent, that when I see that in my waking world as I'm going about my day to day, I will come back to the wisdom my dream has given me. So that is a way that we concretize the dream. It might even be just there's a color that's prevalent. Like there was this beautiful, gorgeous, carved, ornate wood in that clock dream. Maybe I just find something that's like a beautiful piece of wood and place it somewhere that will remind me of that lesson about slowing down the time to be able to be present in this great stream of my ancestral lineage, and just being able to be that gift that I'm called to be in the world today. So concretize your dreams somehow. So that's it. Using your dream world to just pause and to just have a little more peace in your being, to be a little more aware. The more conscious each one of us lives, the more integrated we are with who we are and accepting of all the energies that are part of us, the more we create peace in this world. So pausing for peace to work your dreams, to work even any of the symbols I've mentioned, use them as your own. They're universal symbols. And go ahead and use them as your own to be able to see how they bring meaning to your waking world. Thank you so much for joining me today for episode 15 of Pause for Peace. We're looking forward to finding ways to bringing more podcasts, more information about dreams, that you might be able to glean a little more wisdom from your dreams as you overhear myself or others speaking about dreams. Feel free to come join our dream group or give me a shout out and let me know how to contact you, that I might be able to help you with an image that you might want to be unpacking a little bit. I look forward to seeing you next week for episode 16 of Pause for Peace. I also want to remind you, next Wednesday, March 13th, 2024, episode 2 of Conversations for Peace will be releasing on the Pause for Peace podcast platforms. Check that out. It was a fabulous conversation I was able to have with Sarah Champion of Forest Walk With Me, and we look forward to partnering with Sarah in the future and even providing a forest walk on our property at Hillwood Presbyterian Church on March 19th at 6:45 p.m., the spring equinox, when you can join us for a forest walk on nature, a way to be in nature and calm yourself, to get yourself a little more peaceful, gather with others, to enjoy and bathe in the beauty of creation. Sarah will lead us in that experience on March 19th, 6:45 p.m. We'll have a bonfire and some wonderful time together after the walk. Come and be a part of that. And see you next week, episode 16. Blessings.